As a full-time data scientist at a fintech company, one of the tools that I use on a daily basis is DBT Cloud. What I do is both create and update models in DBT Cloud, which feed into reports, whether they're used on mode or like Looker dashboards. Regardless, there are a lot of things in DBT Cloud that I know, but at the same time, there's a lot that I do not know yet. And that is the reason why I'm going to be building out a full series here on this channel. This is going to be the first video where I show you how we can set up DBT Cloud, and we'll go through step by step on linking it over to a data warehouse. Now, the data warehouse that I use at work is Amazon Redshift, but I wanted to change things up for this video series, so I'm going to be using BigQuery. I have no experience using BigQuery, but I think this is a great excuse to at least become a little bit familiarized with it. With that being said, let's link DBT Cloud to a data warehouse. One other thing though, you are going to need to have a GitHub account for this to work. So make sure you have that before watching the video. All right, let's get started. So here's where you want to get started with this. You go to getdbt.com/pricing. And to get started with DBT today, you have three options. You have enterprise, you have team, and then you have developer. Now, I don't know about you, I'm not spending $100 a month right now because I'm just going to build this out for a tutorial series. So if you're a single person, start off with developer. If you're a company, start with team, because you're going to want to have multiple people working in DBT, assuming that you have multiple people in your data department. So start off with developer and click sign up and go through a little bit of that process. Now, I verified my email and things like that. I'm not going to show all that in the video, but you'll get to this page right over here, which is setup. So it says, let's get started. So you either select, I have a data warehouse or I don't have a data warehouse. I'm going to say that I do, although I have not set up my BigQuery yet. We'll walk through really fast on how we can set up BigQuery. So that way anyone's watching the series from the get-go, you can see how you set up BigQuery. And then also BigQuery, I'm going to bring in some sample data. So I'm just going to say I have a data warehouse over here. And if you already have a data warehouse, step-by-step guides on getting started. So we can just close that over here. All right. So first, what you're going to do is you're going to select your data warehouse that you use. So obviously, there's a lot over here. Choose whatever you want to set up at your company, or if you're going to follow along with the tutorial, choose BigQuery, because that is what we will be using. So click next over here, and then it says the connection you configure here is also known as your project developer environment. We'll enable to develop using the IDE. If you'd like extra guidance while the step, check out this connection guide. So connection name, we're just going to keep it the same as BigQuery. Also, you can choose your name that you want over here too. You can see how it says analytics, BigQuery. I'm just keeping everything default right now. So feel free to change names as you want. Then we have settings over here. So DBT Cloud will always access connection from all these. Make sure to allow inbound traffic from these IPs in your firewall and include it in any database grants. So now what we're going to do, because this is starting to get into the database side of things, we're going to set up a BigQuery account. All right, so I'm at Google Cloud. The new way to cloud starts here. I'm just going to click start for free. Make sure you select your correct Google account, set your country. I'm going to click agree and continue. And then you have to add a payment method over here. So payment information verification. Your payment information helps reduce fraud, abuse. If you're using a credit or debit card, you won't be charged until you manually activate your full account. So payments profile over here, and then add in a payment method that you want. I'm just going to add in a credit card, and then I'll click start free. And then we get this questionnaire. So start with the first selection. I'm just going to click other. I'm going to say YouTube tutorial. Click next. Learn more, explore. Next. Oh, I got to choose something. I'll just say other tutorial. And then I'm just going to say I'm an industry analyst. So we'll click continue over here. Then we'll go over here to BigQuery. So our next step is to go over here. We're going to click manage resources. So I just typed in manage resources over here, and then you'll see this populate. So click that. And then what we're going to do is go over here to create project, and then just name your project name. I'm just going to say this is like a test database for DBT, and then location well, actually I can't have underscore. So test database for DBT. Okay, can't be changed later. That's fine. This is just for YouTube series. And then location, we can browse if we have any organizations. There's no organization here. So click create. And then we have create project test DB for DBT. And while we're in here, make sure we click this add icon. And then what we're going to do is start a project by name. So add a BigQuery project to explore by project name. And the project that we're going to be adding in here is DBT tutorial. So DBT tutorial like that. And then you're going to click start. So once that's there, you're going to see that this has been started. And if we go inside, we have the data prep. Then we also have Jaffle Shop as well as Stripe. So what we can do too is we can create a new SQL query and test this out. So select star from, and then we're going to say DBT tutorial. Then we're going to say dot, let's say Jaffle Shop. Let's actually look what's in Jaffle Shop. So we'll do Jaffle Shop, and then we'll do dot orders, and we'll see all the different orders in here. If we just go over here and click run, and okay, now we have this DBT tutorial data prep Jaffle Shop as well as Stripe now loaded into Google Cloud. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our navigation menu, and we're going to go to API and services, and then go to credentials. We have unsaved work. I'm okay. We can leave that over here. And then what we're going to do for this test for DBT, right? We still have that over here. Click create credentials. And then what we're going to do is go to this service account. So this will load up over here. And the first thing that we can do is label this. I'm just going to say DBT BigQuery like that. Awesome. And then service account description. I'll just keep the same thing over there. Create and continue. And then we can select a role over here. So you can just do basic. And then what we want to do also is we can just select owner for full access. Then click continue, and then grant users access to this account, optional over here. And I think we should be good. So click done. And then we have this service account over here. Now go to this account. We're going to click on that right over here. Go to keys and then click add key, create new key. We're going to use JSON because we're going to upload this once we connect BigQuery back to DBT, and then click create. And then private key saved to your computer, and it has this right over here. So this is what I'm going to be uploading in a minute. So close, and then we're going to go back over to DBT Cloud. And the first thing over here is settings. It says upload a service account JSON file. So we're going to upload that. And what I do is test for DBT. This is the file name, and all this is filled in. I'm just going to blur this just for possible security purposes. And then we have all these optional settings down below. I'm not going to fill out those. Then we have development credentials. So DBT R Nolan. So typically what you'll see over here is a first letter of the first name and then the full last name. Since I'm Ryan Nolan, R Nolan, we'll just keep the target name as default and then threads forward. And I'm going to test this connection. And it says we finished preparing your test, testing connection, we're validating your supplied connection settings. And then once it gets tested, we'll move. And it says your test completed successfully. You're good to go. So let's make sure we save this and then keep moving forward. So save that. And then now what we're gonna have to do is set up a repository. So what I recommend to use is GitHub. So I'm just gonna do GitHub and then connect a GitHub account. So I'm gonna click this over here, and it says DBT Cloud by DBT Labs would like permission to verify your GitHub identity, which I have a Ryan Nolan data GitHub. Don't use it as much, but I should. And it says know which resources you can access, act on your behalf, and we're gonna authorize DBT Cloud. So now we go back to GitHub and it says no repositories found. So your user account is linked essentially, but we don't have a repository. So what I need to do now is create a repository for our DBT on GitHub. So I'm going to go to GitHub right now. And what I'm going to do is click this plus, create new, and click new repository. So now we get into this create a new repository name. So what I'm going to do on here is DBT, then BigQuery, like that. And DBT BigQuery is available. Awesome. Description. And then in description, I'm just going to say DBT BigQuery YouTube. God, I can't spell today. YouTube setup. Awesome. And we're going to keep this as public and then create repository. And now you'll see I have this DBT BigQuery. So I can go back to DBT Cloud, configure this integration, and then it says install on your personal account writing null data for all these repositories. You either say all repositories are only selected. So go over here to only selected, select repository. I'm going to say DBT BigQuery, read, and then read and write over here and click install. It'll ask you for password, put that in, and then we have that over here. So click on DBT BigQuery, and that says your project is ready. Here are some ways you can get started with your project. If you get stuck or need assistance, you can chat with support via the help menu on the top right of the application. Start developing, get started with Cloud CLI, check out the getting started tutorial, learn about how to structure your DBT. So I'm just going to say start developing in the IDE, and then this will load up over here. It says welcome to the DBT Cloud Development, or IDE for short. The IDE is an online tool for debugging, write in SQL or Python. DBT will compile the code and run it directly against your data warehouse. I'm going to click no thanks. I'll explain on my own. I will be covering a lot of the different details around here in future videos. So now what you'll see over here is we have our main branch, we have version control, and we have this file explorer. We also have this section in the middle. It says no open files. It gets started by opening a file or create a new scratch. So the first thing what we're going to do is go over here to where it says version control and then click initialize your DBT project. What this is going to do is you'll see it expands this file explorer and fill this up with a lot of the defaults. So click initialize over here, and then you can see analysis, macros, models, seeds, snapshots, test, get, ignore, a readme, as well as a YAML file down below. And there's been a lot of changes. So what's cool is since we just integrated in GitHub, we can track all the different changes. So what we're going to do is go over here to commit and sync. And then it says changes to 11 files will be committed. Please enter a message used to below. And I'm going to say initializing DBT Cloud. And we're going to click commit changes. And now you take a look at GitHub and we have all these files pushed over here. Now there is something to mention. Anytime that you're going to be making changes in DBT, you need to create a new branch. So one way that we could do this is you can go over here and click create branch. If you're already working on something, you could change branch. So just create branch over here, name it how you want. I'll say like branch 1. And one thing that's good to do is always label who's working on something. So first letter of their first name and then your last name over here. And then you can see now if we create this branch, we have branch 1 R Nolan. Now I'd want to make some changes and then create a pull request on GitHub. I'll cover this in another video when we do create our first model, but we have this file explorer now over here. We have all the files pushed to GitHub and we're in a great starting point for DBT Cloud. Down below, let's type in now DBT run. And by default, we have my first DBT model that's being created. And you can see right over here, my first DBT model, as well as my second DBT model. So now let's go back into our BigQuery to test for DBT and open this up. You see now we have a DBT underscore R Nolan. And guess what? If we toggle this, we have my first DBT model and my second DBT model, which were both generated over here when I put in DBT run. So that will be the end of this first DBT tutorial. Hope you guys found some value in this and you're able to follow along. Now, if you want to watch even more videos in the series, as of 4.6, they are not recorded yet, but I will be uploading 1 to 2 every single week for a while. Make sure to check below in the description for other videos as well as a playlist on my channel. All right, see you next.